The 2023 Australian Open Women's Draw is out, and I've honestly never seen such an unbelievably lopsided crazy draw like this. One half is full of big names with 9 Grand Slam champions all packed up top. Meanwhile, the bottom half has just 2 former Slam champs, both of which are a bit washed up at the moment. I'm going to break down this unbelievable bracket, highlight all the mouthwatering early round matches, and then give my picks of who I think will go the furthest and ultimately raise the Daphne Akhurst Trophy here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. World number 1 Iga Swiatek will open against Germany's Julie Niemeyer and could play Camila Osorio in round 2, Marie Boskova in the 3rd round, last year's finalist Danielle Collins in the round of 16, Coco Gauff in the quarters, Jessica Pegula in the semis, and Jabeur in the finals. Some Iga fans were freaking out about that first round because Iga and Jules played at last year's US Open 4th round, and the German led by a set and a break before Iga stormed back to win the 3rd set in a bagel. Unless Iga plays even worse here than she did during that match in Flushing, I don't expect this match to be that competitive. I saw Niemeyer play at the ATP Cup and I wasn't impressed at all. Iga should really clear pretty easily. Osorio is a possible second round opponent for Swiatek, but the Colombian really hasn't been the same since losing that Monterrey final last year. At the bottom, we have a popcorn match between Slam champ Bianca Andreescu and 25th seed Marie Boskova. Bianca would be the tougher 3rd round opponent for Iga, as she has far more firepower and weapons than Marie. However, Boskova might have a slight edge in this matchup because of how steady and consistent she is as a player. BB's playing decent at the moment, and she had that crazy comeback from 6-love 5-2 down to Muguruza in Adelaide 1. However, I'm not sure her game's solid enough to carry her to a deep run here, and thus while I have Andreescu advancing past Boskova, I picture her road ending once she faces Iga in round 3. Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina and last year's finalist Danielle Collins are on course for a 3rd round meeting, and I think they will play one another. Rybakina has an easier path to that match in my opinion, as Danielle first plays Anna Kalinskaya, who did look decent in Adelaide. Then Karolina Muchova in round 2 could be tricky as well. Elena does face Hobart finalist Elisabetta Cocciaretto in round 1, which might be tough too, but I think she'll manage. Danielle played decent in both Adelaide tournaments herself and really should have made the semifinals in that 2nd edition, but I do have a feeling that she tanked against Kudermetova to save herself for Melbourne. Collins also does tend to wake up for the big matches against tough opponents, so I could very well see her going on another deep run here. Elena and Danielle actually played in the Adelaide 1 first round, where Rybakina edged out a 3-set win. Overall, Rybakina is the slightly steadier and more consistent player, and I think that will be a big facet in this hypothetical matchup, which is why I'm sending her through to the 2nd week to face off against Iga. This draw is very tough for Iga because she's pretty much almost guaranteed to play an extremely difficult opponent in the 4th round. The Polish woman is also more vulnerable around this stage of a slam. Though that Pegula United Cup defeat was only one bad match, I have a fear that Iga's possibly reverted back to her summer 22 form, which was pretty shaky to say the least. A loss like that could hamper Iga's mindset too, though it's important to note that she was at a disadvantage when she played Pegula, as the conditions weren't the same from her prior United Cup group stage matches. On the other hand, this loss could be a good thing for Iga, as she likely worked extra hard to make sure that she didn't have a repeat of that performance. It's also important that we don't read too much into just one bad match. Going back to the opponents, Collins of course clobbered Iga in the semifinals of the Australian Open last year, while Elena routed the pole in the World Tennis League finals in December. Granted, that was an exhibition. Though Danielle is almost equally as dangerous as Rybakina, I'd favor Elena's chances better than I do the Americans. If Swiatek did play Collins, I feel like the pole would be on high alert and eager for revenge. I was going to pick Elena to eliminate Iga at first, but then I came to my senses a bit and realized that Rybakina hasn't yet totally exercised her past demons. She has a long reputation of only bringing her A-level tennis at tournaments that don't award points like Wimbledon, the Olympics, and that WTL exhibition. Swiatek, meanwhile, is mentally superior, and while she might be at a vulnerable stage at the moment, she's still the world's best player for a reason and will surely really rise to the occasion here. Meanwhile, looking at Coco Gauff's section, there's Paula Badosa at the top, who's looked like a completely different player ever since she drank that pickle juice in the United Cup. She's really hitting out and going for her shots once more, which are great signs. Badosa made the Adelaide 2 semifinals, beating Kontaveit, Kanepi, and Haddad Maia all in straight sets there. She does play Katie McNally in the first round, who is a tricky player and can't get the Spanish woman out of her rhythm. Aside from that, her little section looks decent, as her projected seed Yelena Ostapenko just seems to be a little bit of a mess at the moment. Meanwhile, Coco Gauff has been cursed with an unbelievably tricky draw. The SB Classic champion faces Katerina Siniakova in the first round, who is a very tricky opponent and nearly beat Caroline Garcia in Adelaide a few days ago. I'm scared of a repeat like last year where Coco lost to Wang Qiang in round 1 of Melbourne. However, I don't foresee this happening and believe Coco will be able to navigate that challenge. We could have a blockbuster second round, as Emma Raducanu is a possible opponent there. The Brit suffered an ankle injury in Auckland but has slowly improved her condition. Still, whether it's the ankle or another ailment, I don't think the body will be able to hold up compared to the fitter Gauff, and thus I choose Coco in that one. Coco could meet another talented player in Qinwen Zhang in the third round, and Zhang is very, very dangerous in my eyes. Gauff does have the advantage in being the steadier player of the two, and thus I'd have her coming through that one as well. Badosa would have the advantage over Coco in overall preparation for Melbourne, as she faced quite a few tough players in Adelaide. Meanwhile, Coco was hardly tested in Auckland, only playing women ranked outside the top 50, beating them fairly comfortably. I think this could end up hurting Coco this event, which is why I'm sending Badosa through to the last 8. Third seed Jessica Pegula opens against Romanian Jacqueline Christian and could meet Alexandra Sasnovich in the second round, followed by Amanda Anisimova in the third, Petra Kvitova in the fourth round, Maria Sakkari in the quarters, Swiatek in the semis, and Jabeur in the final. Jessica should honestly get through those first few matches without much trouble, but Amanda in round 3 could be tough. Anisimova though has a tough opener on her hands and Marta Kostyuk. Kostyuk did make the Adelaide 1 quarterfinals, beating Rybakina and sternly testing Jabeur. Amanda meanwhile has one main draw win on the year, though it was over the tough Ludmila Samsonova. When she's on, Amanda can beat just about any player, but I don't think that she has enough rhythm and confidence this season for a deep run here, but I could be mistaken. Looking down, we have another projected countrywoman clash in the third round between Barbora Krejcikova and Petra Kvitova. I think those two will play, and I slightly favor Kvitova there. Petra has started the season very well, with her best win coming over Rybakina at Adelaide 2. Krejcikova had a somewhat late start to the season, only playing her first 2 matches of 2023 at Adelaide 2. I really can't trust Petra though in a slam, as she hasn't made it past the 4th round at a major since the 2020 French Open. She has been doing better though, as she's knocked on the door a few times of making that quarters appearance. Pegula is far more reliable on the major stage, as she made the quarters of 3 of the 4 slams in 2022. Jessica also played phenomenally at the United Cup, where she beat Iga. However, I am worried that she might have a drop in form coming from such a high. This will be the true test of whether she can establish herself as a top 5 figure to stay, and I think she'll pass, so I have her taking this section. Another American who played very well at the United Cup was Madison Keys, who won all 5 of her matches during that competition. Keys might have a tussle on her hands in that first round with Anna Blinkova, who's currently in the Hobart final. Meanwhile, down below we have a far more shocking matchup, as former Australian Open champ Sofia Kenin and Victoria Azarenka do battle. Though Sonia and Vika aren't necessarily at the peak of their powers, they're playing pretty well at the moment, as Azarenka had a solid quarter showing at Adelaide 1, while Sonia reached the Hobart semifinals. Vika has the mental advantage here, as the last time she played Kenin, she double bageled her. However, I still think the 2020 champ has regained her solid base level form and will surely test Azarenka in this match. Vika's still going to be my pick to make it through and meet Maddie in the third round. Keys had a great tournament last year where she made the semifinals. She's been playing the best tennis out of anyone in this entire quarter to me, but perhaps her biggest test comes in that third round, where she could face Kenin, Azarenka, or Tomljanovic. Any of those players can go far, but I'll still go with Madison to advance. Moving down, Maria Sakkari could face Jill Teichmann in the third round. You honestly don't know what to expect from Maria, because at the United Cup, for example, she dominated her first 4 matches, then turned around and lost to Trevisan. Jill could potentially be dangerous, but I think the Greek woman will prevail in that matchup. I also have a feeling that Maria will come through and take this section because those 3 United Cup wins she had were pretty promising. There aren't a lot of eyes on her at the moment, but I could definitely see her sneaking into the last 8 and potentially going even further. Transitioning down to the bottom half, Kasatkina will be pretty happy with her section, as her first projected seeded opponent, Karolina Pliskova, has been extremely down bad, struggling to win matches on tour. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Ji Wang beat her in that first round, as the Chinese lefty also ousted Sakkari at last year's US Open. Another Russian, Veronika Kudermetova, has also been blessed with a good draw, as Auntie Zhang, her potential third round opponent, hasn't been playing well. Both Daria and Veronika have been playing well lately themselves, both going deep at Adelaide too. Kasatkina has the head-to-head advantage, winning their last meeting in the Roland Garros quarterfinals. However, Kudermetova is the better player to me right now, so I'll take her to make the last 8. 4th seed Caroline Garcia will start against Canadian qualifier Catherine Savoff and could meet countrywoman Alizé Cornet in round 2. Her first seeded opponent might be Irina Camelia Begu, followed by Anett Kontaveit in the 4th round, Kasatkina in the quarters, Jabeur in the semis, and Iga in the final. This little section is pretty weak, as neither Anett Kontaveit nor Ekaterina Alexandrova are in the best form. I wouldn't be surprised if Magda Linette came through there to make the 4th round. Overall, Caroline Garcia's section is very favorable, but her second round opponent will probably be her biggest competition here. She could play either Leylah Fernandez or compatriot Alizé Cornet. That matchup itself will be one to watch, but regardless of who wins, either woman can upset Caroline. Alizé hasn't really performed well in her latest matches, but she knows how to wake up for a slam. Leylah's form is a bit more unknown, but I feel like she's on the up and up compared to how she finished 2022. Cornet did make the AO quarters last year, while Leylah fell in the first round. Regardless, I think Fernandez will be able to handle both Alizé and Caroline to make the second week. I know it might be surprising to not have Garcia come through because she is the most accomplished, coming off that WTA Finals win. Now, I do anticipate her having a letdown in Melbourne, which is why I don't have her taking advantage of this opportunistic draw. This section is honestly very piss poor, but I'll go ahead and have Kontaveit and Leylah in the 4th round, with Anett advancing to the quarterfinals. I know, Anett does not perform well in slams and is winless on the season, but I feel like her game and draw are there for a second week showing at least. Moving on, 5th seed Aryna Sabalenka has a so-so draw, and she could play Elise Mertens in the 3rd round. The Belgian, though, has a difficult first rounder and going up against Garbine Muguruza. Muguruza doesn't have a lot of confidence at the moment and struggles to win matches, but I think this is a pretty decent opportunity for the Spaniard to get a few matches under her belt. Though she's winless on the season, Garbine played decent, and I think she can take solace in knowing that Mertens doesn't have the weapons of an Andreescu or Benches to consistently hurt her. Elise, though, is another player who knows how to bring her best tennis at the majors, so Muguruza does need to be careful. Lauren Davis lurks there as well, and the American's been playing pretty well herself, making the Hobart finals. Aryna too is full of confidence as she won the Adelaide 1500 the first week of play without dropping a single set. Shelby Rogers in round 2 could be dangerous, but I think she'll be fine, and I see her moving through to the 4th round. Bencic's section is boring as hell. I'd be surprised if she didn't come through. I know Trevisan is the seed there, and while Martina's been playing better lately, I still see Bencic and Sabalenka meeting in the 4th round. That matchup would be major, as the winner of it could really take the entire bottom half, and quite frankly, the whole tournament. I am leaning a bit more towards Bencic at the moment because she's a bit more steady and reliable. She's also currently in the Adelaide 2 finals, playing some solid tennis. Belinda, though, has failed to make it past the 3rd round at the last 4 majors, but I feel like there's no excuse to why she can't here with this draw. On the other hand, I think something's changed for Aryna towards the end of last season, where she finished runner-up at the tour finals. Sabalenka said that she's found a new calm within herself, which has made a notable difference in her game. I will go ahead and have Belinda advance due to her comparatively easier draw, and thus higher chances of even reaching the 4th round in the first place. World number 2 Ons Jabeur will start against Tamara Zhidenzek and could play Alison Risk Armitage in the 2nd round, Kai Kanepi in the 3rd, Beatrice Haddad-Maia in the 4th round, Sabalenka in the quarterfinal, Garcia in the semis, and Iga in the final. At the top of Ons' section, Beatrice Haddad-Maia and Lumila Samsonova could play in the 3rd round. Though the Brazilian's playing well at the moment, she's never made it past the 2nd round at a slam. She could play Sloane Stephens at this stage, but the American has no momentum, losing her first 2 matches of the season, both at 250 events. Meanwhile, Samsonova does have a potential second round challenge in Donna Vekic, who's been having a bit of a career resurgence lately. She won all 3 of her United Cup matches with ease and reached the San Diego finals toward the end of last year. Samsonova is very dangerous and skilled, but I'm actually going to have Vekic upset her and make the 4th round. The main issue with Lumela is that she's a mental midget and chokes away any decent opportunities she has in front of her. Just last week in Adelaide, she squandered a 5-1 first set advantage versus Sabalenka, letting go 7 set points too. Moving down, I honestly don't see Jabeur going very far, mostly due to her lower back and knee injuries she sustained at Adelaide 1. A second round match versus Marketa Vondrousova could send her packing. Then Kanepi, of course, could do the job too. Kaya is a certified seed slayer and can play good tennis here in Melbourne, making the quarterfinals last year. I will have Vondrousova pull off the upset in round 2 to then play Vekic in the round of 16. There, I choose the Czech to reach the last 8. For my predictions, I have Swiatek and Sakkari advancing to the semifinals, with Iga progressing to the championship. Then in the bottom half, I choose Kudermetova and Bencic, with the Swiss women prevailing. And in the final, I'm picking Swiatek to take it all. I'm going to be fully transparent. I am not confident about Iga winning, only because that 4th round match between either Rybakina or Collins will be extremely tough, and that's where I feel like she's the most vulnerable. If she gets through that, I find her being even harder to beat. However, both Collins or Rybakina could take Iga's place and go all the way here. I don't feel as bad about snubbing Coco because I still don't feel like she's adequately prepared for the challenges that lay ahead for her in this tournament. Qingwen there is too, but I don't think she's consistent enough to go as far as her potential allows. I did want to have Paula Badosa progressing further than I had her, but she did recently pull out of the Adelaide 2 semifinals, citing a thigh strain. While that could just be a precautionary thing, it made me remember how injury prone she is, which is why I decided against having her having a deep run here. Jessica Pegula advancing this far is honestly a bit of a risk despite how well she played at the United Cup, and this is because of how potentially tricky her section is. Anisimova could catch fire and take her down. Plus, Czechs Kvitova and Krejcikova might be very difficult as well. I already mentioned how Madison Keys or Victoria Azarenka could really go deep here, but I do see something in Maria Sakkari for some reason. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if all I actually see from her is an early round exit. I am confident in my Kudermetova pick, and if Kasatkina did happen to beat her, it really wouldn't matter because she wouldn't go much further in the tournament, I feel. Caroline Garcia is obviously another big snub, but like I said earlier, I anticipate that letdown after the WTA finals, and even if she did make it past Cornet or Fernandez, I think Pegula could surely take her down in round 3. Arina Sabalenka is another big snub, and once again, it was more of a blindfold decision between her and Belinda. I really do want it for Arina, but I gotta stick with my gut there. On the contrary, I don't feel any type of remorse for excluding Jabeur because I truly don't feel that she's healthy enough to make a deep run. If anything, I feel more guilt for not having Samsonova go further. I think Vondrousova has been knocking on the door for a minute now for a solid result. Same thing with Kudermetova. Veronica should honestly be further along than where she currently is, but I feel like she's truly afraid of success. I say this because she puts herself in the positions to do something special, but literally falters on every occasion. I did originally have her in the finals instead of Bencic, but I changed my mind due to this exact reason. Belinda is yet another player who's long overdue for a deep slam run, and I feel like her draw aids her well enough to do just this. Regardless of where players are actually placed, I expect total hell for this tournament. It's crazy how unbalanced this draw is, and I feel like the chances of yet another first-time slam finalist is very strong in the bottom half. I feel like my anticipated early losses of Jabeur and Garcia would totally open up the floodgates and make a mess of a draw. I don't anticipate the top half of the draw being all pristine either because many of the big name players are set to face each other earlier than when they really should. The top halves on the women's draw will open play on Monday/Sunday night, and to be quite honest, I'm going to be far more excited to watch them play as opposed to the bottom half. Anyways, while on the topic of opening day, here's a list of all the first round matches you should look out for. That's all I have for this messy draw preview, and let me know whether you agree or disagree with me having Swiatek and Bencic in the final, with Iga taking it all. If not, comment your own predictions for finalists and champion below. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post the men's preview as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.